Right, so up next, joining me on the couch right now is Professor and Director, Geology Research Institute and Co-Director at DSI, Professor Judith Kinnaird. Am I right?
Yes, thank you.
Very Scottish.
Well, I'm
Kinda
actually
Scottish.
Welsh by birth,
I was just trying
but I have a Scottish name.
I was just trying to pull the accent just to see if I
It's a
can.
Welsh accent.
So let's talk about, geologists or
Yes.
geology.
Yes.
How important is geology or becoming a geologist?
Well, it's not a subject that people tend to know much about, but it's actually incredibly important in our everyday lives. I work on ore deposits, and particularly on working with platinum, chrome, gold, vanadium, uranium. And these are metals that we need for our everyday lives. From the moment we get up in the morning, we use a kettle. We go to work or school on a bus, in a taxi, in a car. That's made of metal. And whether we are watching a television, whether we are on our cell phones, all these things, the cell phone in particular has something like 40 different metals in it, including a little bit of gold, a little bit of platinum. So we need metals for our everyday lives. Everything that we use, more or less, is made of metal, unless it's made of plastic, and in which case plastic is also a commodity that geologists need to find, because plastic comes from oil. And so all these things involve geology in some way, shape or form.
Now, all of these things at the end of the day has to be, reported to someone, which goes back to the earlier conversation about data capturing. So what kind of things do you emphasize when reporting a written report to government, for example?
Okay, well, I do quite a lot of work with mining companies and exploration companies, and what they're interested in is how much of that metal is in how much ground. And we tend to report things in terms of grams a ton. And if we think about gold and platinum, the amount of gold that is in a ton of rock, and a ton of rock is about a cube that big. I don't know if you can see that on the screen. And the amount of gold in that block of rock would fit on that nail. And so it's a very small amount, but we talk about the grade. So we need to know how much of gold or platinum is in the rock. And we also need to know if we can get it out. If the gold or platinum or whatever occurs as minerals that are easy to process and easy to extract that commodity from, that's great. So when I'm writing a report or involved in a report, we need to know where the deposit is, obviously. We need to know what sort of grade of the metal is in the rock, what sort of rock. And then we need to be aware of how we can get to that deposit, whether there's a road or suitable link to get to the deposit. And also, because when we process rocks to extract a metal from them, we need water. And in many places, that's a vital question to be asking, because there's often a shortage of water. That's sometimes something that a company who's planning to develop a mine has to think very seriously about. And sometimes it's good for the local community who might have been water strapped if a company brings in water from some distance for a new mine. So there's all these sort of things that need to be thought about to go into a report.
Now, for the students that are watching right now,
Yes.
What kind of subjects do you need in order for you to become a geologist?
Okay, well, when I was at school, I went to a brand new school which offered a whole range of subjects. So I studied English, French, history, German, maths, and I was hopeless at languages. So they found me every science subject they could, and I did physics, chemistry, biology, and later I did geology, which very few people can learn at school. But generally, you need a good science background, so you need maths, physics, chemistry, biology, those sort of things, because there are different parts of geology. I'm on the chemistry side of things, but there are aspects of geology which use maths. There's geophysics is a separate branch where they do all sorts of things, including studying earthquakes. And then there's the biological side for studying fossils and other aspects of the ancient world. So a good range in science, and particularly maths.
Now, Judith has done some, I will call it some amazing things, but if it was me, I would say some crazy things in life. What kind of crazy things have you done, or amazing things? For example, like jumping off what? You said jumping into what?
An active volcano.
What?
Well, you see, geologists need to see rocks, and they need to see rocks in different parts of the world. And the great thing is about geology that rocks are the same the whole world over. So if you learn about a granite in South Africa, you can go to Australia or America or whatever and recognize a granite. Unlike people who study plants, and if you study plants in South Africa and you go to somewhere like North America, the plants are totally different and you're kind of lost. So the great thing about geology is that you can recognize rocks the world over. And so as a geologist, I've had great opportunities to travel and go to conferences and go on field trips to see rocks. So I have done some crazy things. I spent 10 days looking at a volcano in DRC, in the Congo, and within 10 days, a whole new cone grew up at a place called Kitisangurwa. And we monitored the gases throughout the time of the eruption. And very interestingly, these gases change with time. So before the eruption, carbon dioxide, which is normally coming out of the ground, suddenly stopped coming out. And through the period of the eruption over a length of about 10 days, the gas emissions with the volcano changed, which nobody had really appreciated before, and they became very sulfurous and not very nice. So we collected material from actively flowing lavas, which was a very interesting thing to do. We talk in geology about needing a fresh sample to do proper analyses, and there's nothing as fresh as a rock which you've sort of just waited for it to cool from flowing lava. And then following that, we went to the volcano called Nyiragongo, just close to Goma in DRC, and we needed to collect some material from inside the volcano. And I've never been on a rope before. I had never abseiled before, and went down into this active volcano. We collected what we needed, but then it's easy going down. It's always easy going down a slope, but now I've got to get back up the rope, which is not so easy, and I have a bag full of rocks on my back, which is even less easy, especially as I don't know what I'm doing.
Listen, Professor Judith Kinnaird, thank you very much for making time today. Also, a big congratulations on your award.
Thank you very much, and I'm grateful to the NSTF for the award, because after all, I was just really doing my job, one that I really enjoy, but I was, just doing my job, and there were other people who facilitated that for me, especially my line manager, Roger Gibson, who just made life so easy and pleasant for me.
That's one of the winners of the 2020 NSTF Awards.